Good evening. I'm your host, Jack. And on behalf of our Greenwood team, I'd like to thank everyone for joining our premiere episode of Greenwood The Podcast. A video intro for everybody to see, and then I'll introduce our teammates. Flex.
Woo!
All right, once
Good
again,
stuff.
welcome to the premiere broadcast of Greenwood The Podcast. We're very excited about this show, and I know we're going to have a lot of fun engaging the viewers with topics that are near and dear to our community and everything that we have to do. So let's start by introducing the crew. With us always, it's going to be ladies first, and we're going to talk to the phenomenal Angel. So please let the world know who you are.
All right. I am so happy to be here, first of all. I'm so gracious to have an opportunity to be in the room with such wonderful, brilliant, and fun people. I think you guys have a great vision. I love the other podcasts that you also produce. I love the topics that we're going to discuss on this podcast. And I think that the family aspect of it is really going to bring us all together, create better friendships and create better families just amongst ourselves. What the Greenwood Podcast briefly is the podcast where we talk about social issues that happen in society. We bring those issues to you. We also want to hear what you might want to hear when it comes to social justice, politics, news, pop culture, information, health, real estate. So it's all here in this one platform. And you've got me and these other gentlemen, and we're willing to do what we can to make sure you get the information that you need. You take that information out into your environment, into your family and your friends, and you share it, and you're sharing correct and sound information. I am Angelia Allen. I'm a wife, a mother, and an HBCU graduate. My passion is politics, and my passion is also history. And one thing that I learned about an HBCU lifestyle is that my HBCU taught me how to be a Black woman in our white America. Our podcast does not separate or create division between races. We encourage all people to come to our podcast because it is also a learning experience and a growth experience. So join us as we take this journey, as we go through the trials and tribulations that we go through every day, especially with the previous administration, but that we also hold people that we've put into office accountable. So I'm going to pitch it over to T. Will. I'll let him do a brief introduction. We'll come back, and I'll give a little history on Greenwood. You got it.
Hey, appreciate that, Angie, and thank y'all for tuning in. As you know, I'm T. Will Terrence Williams, aka the Superman of real estate. A husband, a father, a veteran of the United States Air Force. And this podcast here is just something that we came up with, for the community, for everybody. Like Andy just mentioned, it's not just for a particular ethnicity or a particular people. This is for everybody because everybody has to be aware of what's going on out here, right? It's too many incidents, too many things going on for us not to be aware of it. So what we doing with this podcast is we just bringing it to the forefront. We putting it out there. So we want everybody out there in the comments. We want y'all to participate and just, be a part of this because this is not just our podcast. This is your podcast. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it to my man G Flex. Introduce yourself and let's get this party started.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate you both for those spirited intros. And just to piggyback off what you both have said already, this is not our show. Well, not ours specifically. It's ours as a community, and that's what's important for me. Is to always build a community of people, like-minded community of people that can face the challenges together. We know that there's strength in numbers. We talk about that a lot, and we know that if we're bringing in other races of people as allies that, man, we can just be stronger together. So that's my whole focus. And I hope that, y'all are joining us and stay here for the long run. And thank you, crew, for joining and picking up the call. When I reached out to y'all and want to be a part of this. So I hope that we don't disappoint. I hope that everyone enjoys this first show. And again, like all the other shows, engage us, type your comments. We'll be sure that we share them. But the better you are, the more engaged you are, the better we are as a team. So I just want to make sure I put that out there. My man, Jack.
All right, good people. And I am Broderick Jackson, better known as Jack. And I am first and foremost a father and a lover of people. Our goal is to grow together. So if you look at some of our t-shirts, part of it says welcome home. This is going to be a community of us. It's one world. So we want to get better together, right? Yeah. And so with that, I think it's important to talk about what our purpose is. And so if you will, Miss Angel.
Yes, our purpose. So here, one of the biggest things that we want to make sure we let you guys know is that, again, we want to educate and motivate. We want to make sure that we're giving you sound information again, and that's information that you can use. It's not something that can create dead space. You listen to our podcast and it's gone. We are actually trying to bridge our communities. We want to talk about violence in our communities. We want to talk about the job environment in our communities. And someone also spoke about DEI initiatives. To give you a better in-depth look at what I do, I am a product developer and I'm a DEI chief for Marine Global. I also have a side company called DIME, Diversity and Inclusion Manufacturing Excellence. And what I do is I take products from normally brown, Black, Asian, AAPI, people who don't always have the experience to have exposure in the market when it comes to products. I help them bring their products to scale. So let's say you have a product or an idea, and you want to be able to create that product and idea. I would be the person to do it. And also on this platform, we want to make sure that we promote Black businesses. So towards the end, what we're going to do is we're going to go through and the four of us are going to say, what Black business have you supported? And so we really need to start the conversation about supporting our Black businesses. So moving forward, let's talk about Greenwood and our purpose. Our purpose, again, is to educate. Our purpose, again, is to promote Black businesses. And our purpose, again, is to hear from you, our listeners and our viewers. We want to know what you want to hear. We want to know the topics that matter to you that you want to talk about. Or maybe you don't have the time to do the additional research. That is what we're here for. And so with Greenwood, we want to make sure that there is a safe space for you to go to. We also have an email for info and a website and additional platforms coming. I'm going to give a quick history on Greenwood. Now, most of you know that in 1921, the Greenwood Massacre happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You might also know that during that time, between 1921 and today, recently, only a decade ago, this information was actually available. I think Oklahoma was probably the first state to start teaching what happened those days in school. But what has happened and transpired now is we get into this critical race theory. And so people are trying to lump in what happened in Greenwood to that. But it is not critical race theory. It is just history. It is history that belongs to a horrific day of this country. And this country is shamed, as they should be. So in 1921, a young Black shoe shiner couldn't use the bathroom in the building that he largely worked in. He decided to take an elevator up to another building where Blacks were allowed to use the restroom. And during his encounter, he met a young white woman named Sarah Page. During that encounter, Page was operating manually the elevator. There was a jolt or a shift in the elevator. This caused young Derek to kind of collide into her. So when the elevator finally stopped, him, of course, being a Black man, he thought to himself, oh my God, I actually accidentally stepped on her foot or touched her. That's an automatic lynching for him. So he did what a lot of brothers still do to this day. He ran, right? He ran to his family and to his community. So as he did this, there were mobs that were already formed. And these mobs that formed, the one thing that they wanted to do was Emmett Till him all, create another Emmett Till. So what we know is that in that area, veterans that had fought in the war put on their uniforms and came down to the courthouse to do what they could to stop this young man from being lynched after he was arrested. And so during that, there were black men that were bearing arms, much like the Moors that we recently heard. And white men took offense to that. The key thing I want you to hear is this. Blacks from other communities came together to support at the courthouse in Tulsa, Oklahoma, to keep this young man from being lynched because they understood. And so what happens from there is Gurley, the gentleman that founded Greenwood, he and his people, they band together to keep this young man from that happening. And then one shot comes off, and then it causes what we know today as the Greenwood Massacre, where planes have flown over, one of the biggest massacres and race riots on American soil. And actually, it wasn't really a race riot. It was a group of black men trying to protect a young black male. And so as we move through this journey, I'm going to pull out tidbits and soldiers and give thanks to people that are often forgotten. We know about Harriet Tubman and we know about, but there are also so many warriors through these years that we need to make sure we give light to as well. So I'm going to also ask you in the comments, if there's something that you know and you want to add to the conversation, please leave it there because we want to hear what you have to say.
Hey, I just want to throw in, or at least reiterate what you talked about. It wasn't a race riot. It was a massacre. It wasn't, black people out to fight white people. It was people in their community protecting their homes for what the onslaught that came from outside. So I'm just want to point that out that you did say that it wasn't a riot. It was a massacre.
But that is what history would have us to believe.
Yeah.
Just like history would have us believe that, a young black man that's running away from a police officer was actually assaulting the police officer at that given time. So, a lot of this boils down to what you could prove, but this was proven. It was just suppressed.
Yeah.
It was suppressed.
Yeah, and
So
I think
some of us have heard about the history. Excuse me.
no, go ahead, Jay.
No, I said we've all heard about Greenwood, or some of us have, and we heard that the community was a flourishing, thriving community full of successful people that had a lot to offer, and they had a great future ahead of them. But with this tragedy and with everything being taken from them, it brings us to our next point. Like, what do we do as far as reparations are concerned? What do we think is appropriate? Is it money? Is it land? What do we think is appropriate, or who should get what?
Well, I would definitely say, I personally would say real estate, because real estate is one of the biggest commodities in this country. And if you haven't, and if you don't, that's something that I think that communities should also get into. People, there are, especially our younger generations who want to defund. Well, if we defund, we also need a plan to own. So we need to own, whether it's, whether it's a concrete jungle or acres of land like the 19 families in Georgia. We need to also know what to do, have the correct information, and not be afraid to work with one another. We're going to have to take some chances in life. Real estate is prime. You're right, Jennifer. Real estate is prime, and it always has been. In 1920, before the 1920s, Gurley founded Greenwood. He bought 40 acres and created Black Wall Street. So then real estate was prime. Now real estate is prime. As far as reparations are concerned, hell yeah, we need reparations. We've needed reparations for years. If you think about the things that have happened in the Jewish communities, and things that have happened to Asians in the past, yeah, they were given reparations for things that this soil didn't even do to them. We gave them reparations. So why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we have our reparations?
Andrew, I think that is a real, clear cut. I don't even think that's just we're talking here. I think those are facts. Like Jennifer mentioned, real estate is the prime beef. Um, when they don't create any more dirt. You know what I'm saying? That what you
That's
see
right.
is what you get.
That's right.
This you know it's been very interesting to me just being in real estate. I've seen some things that I didn't even know was possible.
Mm.
I've seen some things that probably shouldn't have been possible, but was. But anyway, it's just that when you when you own real estate, you can you can make a way out of no way, because if you look at some of these companies here that come in, look at the developers, how they come in and develop some of this land that you've been riding by for years, and it looks and it's fields, it's dirt,
Hmm.
and now it's a whole subdivision.
Right.
Yeah.
So you know there's always it's just like when I go in and I look at the flood plans, right? They have 100 year, 300, 500 year flood plain. When I go in here and I look at these things, I'm like, okay, the core engineers have these things figured out to where they know that these areas are going to be, you know pretty safe to build on, right? So the value of the land, that when these developers figure out, okay, so now we can go in and buy this land, and people hold that's been holding on to this land, and let's go back a little bit further, because if you go in certain towns, I remember specifically when I was stationed out in Oklahoma. It's Bowling. Is it Bowling, Oklahoma? I believe it's pretty much a little black town out there, but it wasn't that thriving. But they have a rodeo, and they have like some activities a certain time of the year, and
Mm.
it thrives. But people had started coming in years later, and they had started figuring out, okay, something is thriving here. We need to start, taking, getting some of this land and buying it. And I'm talking about they buying some of this land for, I mean, little or nothing, man. And that's what goes on in real estate. And
Yeah.
a lot of times, it goes back to that reparation things. We don't know about these type of things because we're not included.
Right.
And that's where we talking about the equality part of it. Like,
Yeah.
make it fair, a
Hmm.
fair level playing field where
That's right.
everybody gets to
Yeah.
have some of it. Because honestly, it's enough for everybody to have a piece of this.
Yeah. And you get some good
Absolutely.
points. And I think, as important as land is, I think it's important for people also to have options. Someone may not want the land. I think there is just the cash portion of it, and let people do what's necessary for their family. Um, I think education is another piece of it. Sometimes you get people land or the cash, and they don't know how to manage it, right? So you end up,
Right.
mismanaging it and losing it. We hear stories all the time about our family members that have land and how it's been lost, because
Yeah.
the generations after didn't keep up the taxes,
Yeah.
or
Right.
they sold it.
Yeah.
And if you're in the business, you know that these developers and business people, they're forecasting 10, 15 years out. So they know where they're looking to build in the next 10 years. So they out getting land for pennies on a dollar compared to what
Hmm.
it's going to be worth,
Yeah.
a decade from now. So the educational piece of I think is an important part of reparations. I do like, again, giving people the freedom to do it, but to do or take what works for them. But a part of that has to be being educated and understanding what you're offering and how that can benefit them and their family.
Now I have a question. So reparations need not be taxed, correct?
Hey, absolutely. That's
Absolutely.
Correct.
you know what?
Correct.
That's tax
Let's just
free.
be clear,
That's
because
tax free.
it should be tax free. I just want to be clear.
Yeah.
But that's a
That's
good question though, because the government, man, they're
Because
tricky.
they'll
But they
find
ain't
a way to
ahead of that.
tax you. They'll
They
say, "Yeah,
will.
we give you these reparations, but if you open up a business
Yeah,
or you create an LLC, then there is going to be some taxes incurred with that,
yeah,
because you have to think about it. Yeah, some people thought in the beginning that the Indians were given a sweet deal. In actuality, they weren't.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So here's a comment. I want someone to respond to Josh saying, and we all know Josh. Well, most of us do. Reparations not happening. Black people, as Black people, we have the fifth largest GNP in the
Hmm.
world. He said, "Love black, buy black, and in 30 years we will beg for nothing." And for
Mm.
me, I would say I agree with him with some of the sentiments he's expressing there, but I do like the idea of pumping money into certain communities to help them. And again, reparations for me, it looks different ways. You're talking about going in and rebuilding the infrastructure in some of these underserved communities. Man, you can
Hmm.
go to some communities and you see the schools and go in there and the HVAC system is jacked up. They smell like mold because they're just unkept, and the quality of the education. They don't have books.
And see,
Overcrowded.
that's where I disagree with you. I'm gonna cut you off right there
Talk
because
to me.
I think that there are public schools in predominantly Caucasian communities that they wouldn't have to take money from reparations and rebuild their communities, especially if it's considered a public. No, we let the government do what they're supposed to do and fix and give us a new and create that new infrastructure. They're spending billions, trillions of dollars
Trillions.
on
Yeah,
infrastructure right now. Let them fix it. We maintain it, and that is key. Maintaining
I could see
and
that.
caring about the space that we live and we work in, because then we also incur those costs that are given. And to me, that's not fair.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and that is
Absolutely.
true. But here's another deal that because like you said, everything y'all said is correct. But we have to go back to the root, right? So if they so in certain school districts, like you can see the difference. I mean, it's clear and cut. You see these schools built here, $1 million schools, $1 million stadium. The taxes are high in that area. You go in other areas, the taxes not that high, but it's still supposed to be taken care of this in the same manner, right?
Hmm.
Um, if you have, like, if you go into the lower income areas, my thing is there's no educational programs because you have to educate people about these things. It's just like in real estate, I say, um, man, if you go into these communities, a lot of them come up off their properties because they're not educated. They don't know. If you throw somebody $100,000 that ain't never had $100,000, and somebody finna turn around and make $500,000 off their property, I they probably wouldn't sell if they knew that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like when you go into these areas and they're doing this revitalization, I tell people, look, I'm not against it, and I'm gonna tell you why. This is my take on it because it's gonna be done anyway. You have to get in position to where you can make a decision. Why not you?
Hmm.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
if it's gonna be done, you make sure you a part of that situation.
yeah. And to Angel's point, I do see what she's saying. Like, why should we take on that when they're rebuilding other communities to that point? So maybe we can, it'll be a partnership where, you know,
No, we
we're
just make
ensuring.
sure that the people that we have put in office
Yeah,
enforce
yeah,
and do exactly what we hired them to do. And what people need to realize
absolutely.
is that also voting during the primaries is just as important as
Yeah,
voting through your main election, because the
yeah,
primaries are where a lot of change happens in your community. Get to know your local officials, because
yeah,
those are the people that you need to hold responsible for when stuff that doesn't go on, that needs to go on, when there's a lot of violence in your neighborhoods that have not been taken care of.
yeah,
Those people are the people that you need to hold responsible. And
absolutely.
so that's definitely working your way up through the system in your area.
Yeah,
And I feel like, to touch on what everybody's kind of saying here, and a lot of the comments have said, um, Eli Dunn spoke about reparations, right? Reparations and access to resources Black people ourselves created and have been prevented from accessing, not just money.
yeah,
So she's right. He's right. Or they are right. Um, and again, people out here, I do use gender pronouns. So, but we need to be 100% aware that there is a lot of work to do as far as educating ourselves in the communities to understand what we are doing. Because what
yeah,
T Will is saying is that, yeah, we could be given all the money in the world, and but how are we reinvesting in the community, and
Good
how
point.
are we adding value even outside of our community to build better communities. So there definitely needs to be some financial literacy on a widespread level.
Yeah.
And a lot of that starts when some people go to colleges. I know I experienced financial literacy at my HBCU. My mom was a powerhouse at it. She toured all the HBCUs and Ivy Leagues and taught financial literacy. And I think I told you guys this. And during one of her seminars, I'm sitting out in the chairs. I went to Clark Atlanta, and the guy next to me hears my mother speaking, and he's like, "Man, I bet you her kids are already paid." And I'm sitting next to him and I'm thinking, I hadn't been the best at that time as far as money matters and how I spent my money in college. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, I got $500 in my in my bank account. I was
Yeah.
ashamed. And so it let me know that, I could still have those tools sitting in front of me, but I did not access that thirst to use them. You know,
Yeah.
so I
Good point.
think that a lot of that has to do with creating and making sure that we are ambitious and we are thirsty. Let's take thirsty back and use it as something good about creating better ecosystems, especially for Blacks.
Yeah, that's good. I like to comment that Jennifer making a lot of good comments. Thanks for your participation, Jennifer. But she says because on Greenwood the dollar turned over so many times before it left the community. So we talk about that
Mm,
a lot when we talk about the
mm,
importance and how powerful the dollar is. And I was on one of Josh's workshops, and I think the number he gave was $2.9 trillion that we spend in the Black community, and that's just cash. He talked about when you add credit in there, we're upward of around $5 or $6 trillion. So just imagine if we were more conscious about where we spent our money, and that's to Josh's earlier point. Like if we just focus more on buying Black when the opportunity is there, that man we can make like major waves and just improving our situation.
And another thing here, it's like if you go into certain communities, like you can go into, Chinatown or something like that. Just an example, right? We go down there and we buy a lot of product, hair products, purses, belt,
Luggage,
whatever,
yeah,
just consumer stuff, right?
right,
And
right,
if
right.
you take that 2.9 trillion and just cut it in half,
Mm,
now put it in the business side. Now we're creating a stream of revenues from half of that 2.9 trillion. And you chop that up. And I'm not, like I tell people, I'm not I like nice things. I'm not against not having nice things. But I'm saying your business should be in place first. Your business matters should be in a place first. So when you
mhm.
go get those nice things, it's not gonna put a dent in your pockets.
Right.
So, that's the part of the education part. I mean, just by going in back in the communities, educating people about finances and, just, building
yeah,
on businesses.
yeah. That's good, man.
Now, we're talking about the financial piece of reparations. Is there a health piece to this reparations?
That's a good one. That's a
Yes.
very good one because look, I man, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm pretty sure all of us growing up, I mean, we that's just kind of like in our communities, we played sports, all type of sports. I think I could speak for everybody on this panel, even everybody out in the audience. But the thing is, it's just like we have to get away from because a lot of this stuff we put inside our bodies is just
Mm,
killing us slowly. I tell people I do not like to take pills. I do not like to take medicine. I barely take vitamins and stuff like that because it's a chemical compound, right? Anything chemical that's going into your body gets used to that, and then now your body starts depending on it. So it's like we really have to be careful of what we put in our bodies. Like it some people are and that goes back to the educational piece as well because we have to be educated about health. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
some of this meat and stuff
mm-hmm.
imagine I'm telling you because I do this several times through the year. I take a meat fast where I don't even eat meat for like a couple of weeks, a month.
Me
not
too.
only is it, it's saving you dollars, like you said, in your pocket, but it's giving you longevity and health wise in
Mhm.
your body. So it's just being educated about that type of stuff. What to eat. What's healthy for you, and I think that's going back into our communities, kind of hitting on that part. So I think that's
Yeah.
very good, Jack.
Right. And that's something that needs to be addressed to our communities. And there's so many good questions going on in comments in this. Ebony just said, I just want to identify the fact that the
Yes.
overall flow of information needs to encompass the mental health. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So she is so right. Mental health is something that for so often it has been bypassed in our communities. But that also goes into a lot of how we view um, what we think mental health is, especially in some of our ethnic communities. But that's something that needs to be definitely needs to be addressed. Mental health, and we need to make sure that people inside of the community get the services that they deserve. So I think that there are some initiatives already created there, but
Yeah.
that's a part of our mental health as well.
Yeah.
And what T Will is, and I want to also say this, T Will, that I think that even here, I think we need to take an hour or so and talk about. I hear women all the time say, "Well, I don't understand why I'm doing this and this is not working." And so, I myself during the pandemic, found myself at a place where I was 15 pounds larger than I was pre-pandemic. So, I mean, I understand this is a sign of the times, but in order for us to live longer lives and teach our children sound behaviors, we have to also question in our communities how many Jack in the Boxes, McDonald's, Dairy Queens, Krispy Kremes go up in our area, because
Yeah.
remember, we are consumers, and so they know that. That's why Asians were allowed to build hair stores in our communities. You don't go somewhere in Alpharetta in Atlanta and see them there. No, they're
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
eyesores.
Yeah. And that's the big part of it is just the access to it. Not I mean not the restaurants, but the healthcare. When they talk about the mental health facilities, um, we know we could just drive through some of our the inner cities and the facilities are not there. So now you got
Right.
when I just remember when Obama was in office, he talked about not just having quality health care, but having access to it. It makes no difference if you got the best hospitals out there, but our people don't have a way to get to them. So it's addressing the access. I know just maybe a month or two ago, the Supreme Court finally decided on that case that sat up there forever, where they was trying to strike down certain components of Obamacare, which
Mm-hmm.
a key part of that was the access to quality health care. So we're talking about the reparations piece. Giving money or land is an important part of it, but I think for them to be as successful as they can, it has to be a robust program where you're dealing with health care, which is access, putting healthier restaurants in our communities when possible. um, you just talk about the tax breaks that the municipalities or the governments are given to certain restaurants. I mean, we know who they're paying and who they're giving incentives to come into these neighborhoods and set up. Uh, Here in Dallas, the Oak Cliff community, they
Mm.
finally got a Walmart. I think it was maybe 6 or 7 years ago, if I remember right.
Mm.
So just
Wow.
the ability to get quality food is still a challenge. And they had two Walmarts a few years ago, and now I just found out yesterday that one of them is closed, so they're back down to only one Walmart in this huge area. So again, just the access to quality food is a big challenge too.
Well, and we speak of Walmarts, but what about the whole health stores?
Yeah,
Things like of that nature that you can get these healthier foods from. You don't see those in places like that.
yeah,
I haven't,
they're
you
not going
know,
to set up there. Yeah,
because it's not meant for, and that's what I mean by equality.
yeah,
And to go back to the same thing. Look at what most of the liquor stores are.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
It's liquor. I've done this research because
Me too.
when my wife developed sarcoma cancer, I researched the hell out of everything because I was trying to figure out what the hell can we do Because look, man, we was already going to the gym, living healthy lives, eating right, and this stuff still happen. So it still can happen. Um, but the thing is, I would rather for it to happen to me while I'm healthy than unhealthy. That
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna just put that out there
Mm-hmm.
because I know you're gonna get some people to say,
Right.
well, it still can happen. Yes, it can, but I would rather for it to happen to me while I'm healthy than I'm unhealthy because we know the probability of that happening. So, I just think I believe that we should have access to these things. And, liquor, there is nothing in I'm look, I used to drink like crazy, like a drunker than a fish. You know what I'm saying? I used to drink heavy.
Mhm.
Crown
Right.
Royal, outlet. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, it came a time to that stuff started. Like when I started getting to a point, I would drink the next day, I would get headaches, and I'm like, damn, why is this getting old? What is going on? You know what I'm saying? I couldn't pick,
Mm.
and so I started researching, and only thing I could come up with is pausing. You
Yeah.
know, so
All right. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna ask y'all another question, right? So we talked about the mental health aspect and access to it, but is there something more beyond that, like the stigma of saying I have a problem?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead, Angel.
I think that there is a stigma. I think, especially in the Black communities, we're always taught to be strong. We're always taught to suck things up. We're always taught to, oh, that boy just crazy. He's just crazy. He'll be okay. And we've learned how to put a ethnic band-aid on certain
Yeah.
things that happen in the community, such as molestation inside of families. We because we've had to always put on that armor, we put it on, and sometimes we should really take the opportunity to explore what's hurting us the most, and that's mentally and physically. There's a lot of abuse that we do to ourselves as well, and not being able to explore what we're going through emotionally and mentally is one of them.
Yeah.
Lauren and Jennifer, and they've been blowing up the comments about the mental health community and the
Yes.
stigmas in them, and I completely agree with them. I feel like, a lot of that stigma is that we already have so many um, you know, false things that come out about us. We lazy, we're this, or they're that. And so those things also deter us from stepping out and saying, yes, I might need help, or I might need to see someone. And
Yeah.
so
Right.
and especially I think with a black men, I think black men, for one, have had to hold on to a lot of burden of mental health for the longest. And a lot of people self-medicate, and that's when you get into some of your harder drugs. And so yes, there is a stigma.
Yeah. I like what
And the reason why I asked that was because there's a line from a Lil Wayne song. He says, "I want to cry sometimes, but no emotion from a king."
Hmm.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that.
What's
Yeah.
crazy about the music, man, is even though it can get kind of vulgar, but there's a lot of message in that. You talk about that Lil Wayne line. I didn't even thinking about Pac when he and his thing when he was talking about his mom, the Dear Mom song, and he said
Yeah.
about his dad. He said he passed away, but I didn't cry because my anger
Mm.
Right.
wouldn't let me feel for a stranger, and that's a real
Hmm.
thing. Like when something
Yes,
as
Ebony, hitting
terrible
this.
as death happens, and you have no feelings towards it, and that's how I that's a similar situation for me. My biological dad passed, and I remember crazy thing. My mom called and told me about it. She was like, "Such and such died." I'm like, "Who?" And she told me his name again. I'm like, "Who is that?" And then when
Mm.
she told me, I'm like, "Oh, cool." And it really wasn't until 2 days later, and I'm sitting there, and I was in a leadership school in the military. And I just remember it just hit me, and I didn't, break down or anything, but it was just like how dysfunctional that was. How abnormal
Yeah.
I say that was for him to pass, and I literally felt nothing for him. You know, and,
Right.
it just shows like as a black man, what I had to do growing up is condition myself to
Mm-hmm.
operate knowing that he wasn't a part of my life. You know,
Mm.
Right.
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
So
That's deep.
yeah, there's another from Lauren. She says the mental model is a mess based on talk therapy and meds, not the real root, which is chronic adversity and the impact on the brain, body, nervous system, and some say spirit. So good point, Lauren. Appreciate that. Um, Hidden
Hey, I
messages.
want to bring.
I go ahead.
Go.
Go ahead, T.
I want go back to that one that I think it was Vincent
Oh, okay. Yeah.
said something about meat.
Yeah.
So he
Me.
says a meat fast is that from beef, poultry, or both. Bro, that's from every meat you can think of. When I fast, it's no meat. Seriously, like nothing,
Right.
none of that. So
It's
you
a
want to,
vegan fast, so you're
yeah,
doing a vegan fast.
you cleaning. You want to clean out your system, and that's what you want
Yeah.
to do. And also, it is from to for me. I can only speak for me. It is from a mental and a spiritual
Mhm.
standpoint because I look at it as however you see fit. Like I said, I don't claim nothing. I just believe in God, right? So I believe that
Mhm.
how God put us here and he does everything for us and he, creates the way for us. So it's another way of us, giving thanks and praise to him and just acknowledging him, right? So
Mhm.
I give that up, you know what I'm saying, for him and also for, myself, for my own being, my own health, my own spiritual being, all that. So yes, it's
Right.
both mental and spiritual, bro.
Yeah. And I've heard Vince concern before. Some people don't believe that fasting have benefits, and I'm talking about medical professionals too. I read articles that talk about as long as you're eating your green leafy vegetables and drinking fluids, that your body's going to do what it's
Woo.
supposed to do. So again, that's just what I've heard. I'm not saying
A-
I agree with it, but
And and that's why I tell people it's like the experience factor, right?
yeah,
I was just talking to a young lady about this today. Some people get their experience from different things, but when you get it straight from with yourself
Yes.
knowing, then you don't have to ask nobody.
That's
So
yeah,
right.
I would challenge
Right.
Vince, if you're not a believer in it, and I'm not trying to make you one, but just try it for a week. See how it does for you.
yeah.
That's the only advice I can give you on that, bro. I
And
can't.
I'll be
I
honest,
do
there's
water
sometimes.
fast. I
Uh,
myself, I do water fast. I do
Uh-huh,
water fast for as long as I can. And let me tell you, I need to tap into my spiritual and mental self in order to complete my 7 days.
uh,
So I need to be
Ooh,
in my zone. I need to be meditating. I need to be there because that is the only thing that keeps me strong. So
yeah,
I think that you're more successful when you do a fast, whether it's a meat fast, whether
yeah,
it's a complete body fast where you fast from everything and it's just a water fast. I mean, they're always beneficial to me. They help reset my body. They reset my
yeah,
clock. They speed up my metabolism. They clear my skin. I mean,
yes,
so the benefits, always the benefits. It helps pull a lot of that mercury and that toxin and all that stuff that we
yeah.
get from our local meats
Good
and
point.
fish and
Yeah,
all that stuff and processed food.
yeah. And that's a big part of that processed food. I remember an article on CNN with Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and he
hmm
was
Mm-hmm.
talking about how they eat in Italy versus here in
Mm-hmm.
the U.S. and how obesity is rampant here in the U.S. and not there. And a lot of the foods don't have all those preservatives and
Mm-hmm.
high fructose corn syrups and all those other things that our food have. So I know that's a big part of it. But I'll be honest and tell you, like, hey, there's some days I'll go and eat a lot of meat, and I just feel like I'm dragging, man, and it just does a number on
right.
me. So
yeah.
they ain't always make me stop, but I will say that
And
it still work, good bro.
and also on the fast deal, while we on that subject, it's not just food. That could be people, that could be music,
Social
that could
media
Yes.
yeah, it could be a lot of things. You know what I'm
Yes.
spending,
saying?
Yeah.
yeah,
Anything that's tapping into your inner, you probably need to give it a fast for a minute. You know what I'm saying? If it's slowing you down, like you said, when you that meat you eat sometimes and you feel sluggish, well,
Mm-hmm.
it's with your
Mm-hmm.
spirit sometimes. If you get certain things in your spirit, whether that's people, music, whatever it may be, you know what it is, whether you
Mm-hmm.
deny it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I said,
Mm-hmm.
once you understand that
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of
Yeah.
cut it off for a minute, you fast forward, I don't 2, 3 days, or you know, I mean, whatever it is, what works for you. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So that's what I'll say on that.
Yeah, Josh said fasting is an ancient way to recalibrate, which is to Angel's point, but great idea for the show. 10 days. Yeah, and I talked to Josh about his fast. He does that. I think he said once a year, and a lot of churches do it as well. So to your point, it's not just food, but when you can, I think it's about disciplining and
Yeah.
showing yourself that you
Yes.
have more
Mm-hmm.
control of yourself and
Exactly.
do what's necessary just for self improvement. So
Right.
I believe in fasting.
Yeah.
It's hard.
And I have one more, right?
What's
We
up, brother?
talked about our eating habits, right? And in some of our communities, we go fast food and everything's real quick. Just a pacify the child, you stop at McDonald's, whatever.
Right.
However, there's always another option, right? So
Right.
if you are one of those SNAP benefit recipients, you can go on Amazon, you can order healthy food.
Yes.
There's no excuse. I mean, this just you make a choice to do that, but you can
Right.
also use your money in a more healthy way.
Yeah.
Right.
And good point, man. I think a lot of it, Jack, is with anything, it just takes planning. I've tried to
Yes.
go and I've spent hundred some dollars on, stuff to jutes and part of my fast and all that. And because I didn't plan,
Mhm.
man, a lot of that food went to waste. And by day two, man, I was right back at Mooyah Burger Van tearing it up. So
I
you
believe
know,
in meal prepping. Meal
And it,
that
prepping
is
is
it,
the
man.
key.
so,
Yeah,
I meal prep. I meal prep, and I don't even realize it. I'll like,
yeah,
I'll go out and buy food, and then I'll say I'm cooking all of this, and then
uh,
I'll cook it all up, and I'll be like, okay. So I'll always have something to reach for before I reach
yeah.
for something bad.
So yeah, fair point. You got to prepare yourself because if not,
I,
it's gonna be a challenge.
yeah, I can't. When I meal prep, I can't do over 2 days. Cause that
Really?
food, yeah, cause food tastes totally different
Yeah.
after 2 days to me. For some reason, it just does
Mm,
not taste the same. So I meal prep only for like 2 days if I do it, and
Yeah,
then I'll just do it every 2 days. You know what I'm saying? Cause there's something about it, it just doesn't taste the same. So,
yeah.
but
And then you throw in the fact that you're working 10, 12 hours, and it's
yeah,
a challenge, man. So it is. Man,
but
you just
bro, like you
person.
said, it's discipline.
Yeah,
right.
it is
Man,
discipline.
you gotta be
Right.
Yes.
disciplined to do these things,
Yeah,
man.
Eli in the comments said she's been vegan for a couple of years and she feels better than she's ever felt before. I
Mm,
just base it off of what feels good to my body and that's it.
there
And
you
then we
go.
have somebody, and
Yeah.
Ebony also came in and said conversations like these help us hold each other and ourselves accountable.
yeah,
And so they're absolutely right, I think that, and then Vincent said, personally, I don't believe in fast because there's such a thing as fast results in physical, mentally, or spiritually. I believe that we need to teach people to change their perspective and beliefs to truly grow physically, spiritually, and mentally by living the lifestyle. And so, yeah, I think that that's where that all starts. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
of course, there's a vanity aspect that comes with a lot of things that we do every day, but I think that as long as it's something that allows you to cleanse yourself and to move forward and you encompass the mental and the spirituality along with the health benefits of it, I think that it is always beneficial.
yeah. And I like Ebony's point right here. Sometimes we go so hard in the beginning that we burn ourselves out. So she says, I'm starting to transition
Yes.
to real smoothies in the morning, baby steps. So for me, whenever I do it, I do a little variety. I might do a vegan meal. Yeah, I might do a vegan meal early in the day. I might do a vegetarian meal later that day.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I might do protein only. So I kind of mix it up because I got some food addictions I'm dealing with, but
Mine is sugar. I
is
love
it?
I
Uh,
love sugar. But I
man,
had
who
vegan
don't?
Yeah.
apple pie this
Yeah,
weekend and it was great. So
Yeah.
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 Huh.
Hey, and just full transparency for Vince over here, man. He's Vince actually been a personal trainer. He got all the certifications, so he know, you know, based off science. A lot of what he's talking about is based off science.
Yeah.
But again, I think there is again, you go one doctor say something, another specialist will say something totally different. I think
Hmm.
to his point, a lot of it is mentally,
Hmm.
and
Oh yeah.
if you don't train the mind right, man, it's I'm talking about from experience, man. You're doomed. You're doomed, and you got to be to what T. Will said. You have to be disciplined. And for me, I've done best when I have somebody to help hold myself accountable
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
I live alone, and I'll be honest, man. Whataburger here in Texas, I mean, they probably top three.
Right.
and
Oh,
burgers. They taste even better after 11 o'clock at night. So
oh,
it's the trouble
Oh,
over here,
Okay,
bro.
so let's start a challenge right now. Let's do a challenge right now.
Let's
So
do it.
all right.
until the next show, no fast food.
Oh, that's easy.
All right.
Ooh,
Okay, that's easy. But that's a
Yeah,
start. But
yeah.
that's a
that's a
Okay.
start.
start. We're not going hard and so hard that people can't keep up. Everybody that's listening today, let's start now. No
Everybody,
fast
not
food.
just the pound on everybody, right?
Everybody,
Sometimes everybody
everybody,
do
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
everybody that's listening, no fast food.
Yeah.
Can we?
I,
Can
I
we?
already don't do that, so
Hey, you gotta
So,
get
but
you some hard.
that's gonna be great.
hey, we can eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich though, right?
Oh man.
No.
No.
Hey, because it ain't at a fast food place, because I could eat. Hey, I could cook myself. What's that fast food place?
Yeah.
Absolutely
Yeah,
not.
All right. Okay.
yeah. Evidence says
We're rolling.
everything.
We're kind of closing out on time. Jack,
Yeah,
can we talk about the Black businesses that we're all supporting, or talk about the books that we're reading
yeah,
quickly?
yeah,
Awesome. I mean, that is a great transition because sometimes we don't look for books or things in our community because we don't know. So if we know something that's around, introduce it to everybody, introduce it to the world. So if there's something that you are really interested in, that's a black owned or something like that, tell us, and maybe we can frequent that same establishment.
Okay.
yeah.
Anybody want to go? Okay, I'll go with my book. I'll go with the book first, and then I'll let everybody have their book. Okay, so this is a book that I've read, and I actually had the author on to a social justice podcast of mine, and it was called Our Time Is Now. It's by Stacey Abrams. It delves into the political aspect and a little bit about her 2016 run. And I
Mm,
was able to bring her in and talk about the previous election and give her insights on where politics are going in the future for the Black community and Brown community. So the book that I choose for everyone to read is Our Time Is Now by Stacey Abrams.
man, Stacey Abrams is dope, man. I
She
thank
is
God for her, man.
amazing.
She has,
I love her. I love her.
man.
She's
She changed the
amazing.
landscape around voting and
Yes,
really
yes.
educated people, and
She
her work
turned
hadn't
Georgia
stopped.
blue.
Yeah, she did, and I don't think her work is going to go in vain. We just watch the news and you see what's going on right now. And they're actively passing laws and implementing rules that make it hard for us to vote,
Right.
which
Those
is
old Jim Crow laws,
oh yeah,
that are
yeah,
making it harder for blacks to vote.
yeah,
Making, we're running out of time. That's
yeah,
definitely another
yeah,
discussion. But we
listen, yeah,
definitely need to talk about that. We need to educate the listeners and people
yeah,
that don't know and people that come on what's actually happening to us right now. A lot of us
yeah,
don't know.
real life, yeah,
And we need to talk
real
about the
time.
critical race theory as well. Okay, next book. What's your book? What's your book, Flex?
Oh man, I got a cover here. Let me share my screen real quick. So this is actually gonna be a book we're gonna discuss next week on our relationship show. So Dr.
Oh,
Elizabeth Jennings, man, another dope female, man. I really, really enjoyed the time I spent talking to her. She's very accomplished and she has a heart and a passion to just to serve the community. But this book is called Single, Successful, and Satisfied. So I'm going to be interested in reading and understanding the satisfied part of it, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of people are single, and can be successful, but can you be satisfied in that space while you're single and successful? And a lot of times
I love
that
it.
can be what drag people down, from their success, from their peace, is getting into those bad relationships. So we're going to talk about that next week on the relationship edition of the Floor is Yours podcast.
Amazing. Good
Yeah.
stuff. All right, T Will, what's your book?
Well, I'm all about being transparent, like y'all say. So, um, this is I'm just being honest. This is what I'm on right now because I'm working on myself. So, gee, I already know how I feel about Miles Monroe, man. This is
Miles
my man.
Monroe.
This is what helped me. This is what
Yeah.
helped me keep going. So, that's what I'm on right now. I've looked at some other black authors that I'm interested in reading, and I'm gonna pick some up. So I'll tell you this. I have one on our next show on that one, but right now I'm that's kind of like keeping me level headed with some stuff I'm dealing with right now.
Yeah.
So
Miss
That's
Jenny's
super
in the
cool.
comments. Miss Jenny's, I'm picking that book up.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And hey, be everybody tune in next Sunday. Yeah, Lauren, it is Sunday next week, a week from now, at 7 Central Standard Time. So
Okay,
looking forward to that.
Jack, what's your book?
All right, so I'll tell you a story about the book I read, and this years ago, but it's so powerful that I think that we can look at the journey of this particular author. It's called A Long Way Gone. It's Memoirs of a Boy Soldier by a young man named Ishmael Bay. It
Okay.
chronicles him being basically forced to be a soldier in like in a grown man's war, but as a child. So if you could find that, read it. It's so powerful to see his story, how he was actually
Okay.
rescued and came to the United States from Africa and rescued by the UN. So it's a super story and it's a super path. You know what I mean? So with all of our books being wrapped up, if you could just tell the world how they could follow us, ma'am.
All right. You can follow us on social media. That's Facebook and YouTube. And you can also reach out to us with any questions, concerns. If you know someone that'd be a great guest on the show based on what our topic formats are, go ahead and reach us through email at info@greenwoodpodcast.com. That's info@greenwoodpodcast.com. And so we'll definitely reply to you right away. We'll also have some great, side hosts coming up on this show. We'll have some great guests that'll talk to us about, the things that we really think are important to discuss with our communities, especially real estate, health. We've got somebody in the comments that seems to pretty much what he wants and what he, and maybe he'd be a great, person here where he can discuss that with us. I've had a great time today. I really have.
Hey, can you give me that email address one more time?
It's info@greenwoodpodcast.com.
Oh, that should be easy to remember. So we'll make sure we put that in the comments. The books that we share and all that, we'll make sure we put that all in the comments so people can go back and reference it later.
And don't forget to share, you guys. Don't forget to tell your friends we're here. This is the first one for the Greenwood podcast. It's going to be many more. We're really going to do a push for our next meeting. And I just want you guys to let everybody know there's something out there that we can all share and work together to build.
Yeah.
And that's prosperity.
No doubt.
yes,
No doubt.
indeed. Yeah.
All right, Brother Flex, can you talk about the backpack giveaway?
Yeah, let me go ahead and share that. And Angel, she's such a better communicator than me, and if she don't mind, I'll let her just read it to our audience.
Backpack giveaway. I can barely see it. It's the drive-through backpack giveaway for 2021. It's the 7th annual Unity in the Community back to school bash. Park Avenue Baptist Church, 214 Seabird Street. Did I say that right? Texarkana, Arkansas, 71852. For more information, Pastor Rico Boyd, his email's there. Cynthia, Felicia, and LaShonda. They've got a list of sponsors down here for you guys to check out. And the youth must be present in order to receive the backpack while supplies last. This is an awesome opportunity, you guys, for us to get out here and make sure that we are taking those first steps of, taking our communities and some of the things that happen in them back in our hands.
Yeah.
Hey, and I would even go so far to say this, and this is not just to us on this panel, but to all the listeners out there. But I want to challenge us as a panel on this Greenwood panel that we come together at least and give $100 to this backpack drive, because I believe this will impact that community there and help them a lot. So I would, that's what I would say. And whoever out there in the audience, if you can give as well. I think Flex, you have the Cash App.
Make it available.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure I put all that. I'm gonna actually make a post so people can donate to this cause. We were talking about it earlier, just about the infrastructure, and this school part is is a big piece of it. So
Yep.
Thank you to
definitely want to talk
everybody in
about
the comments. You guys gave some wonderful, wonderful questions. We do appreciate you guys. Don't forget, tell your friends we're here.
it. Yeah.
And someone
So
asked, when does our podcast meet?
yeah.
You want to
So
go
right
and let them
now,
know?
yeah. So we're gonna be going every other Sunday. So we're gonna be alternating with the relationship show right now.
Right.
So right now we're gonna be doing the second and the fourth Sunday at, right here at 7 Central Time on the Floor Is Yours podcast.
Right on.
And with
And
that,
hey,
good people, it's been a great time with the new family members. We really appreciate you. We really appreciate you joining us. All the constructive feedback and engagement is really taking our show to another level. So without y'all, we're nothing. So we really appreciate it.
the
Yeah,
Greenwood is in the house.
yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
I also like to give a plug too. Like, remember, don't forget, every Wednesday at 7 p.m. we have the E&M Educate and Motivate podcast live here streaming on Facebook. This week we're bringing on one of the mortgage lenders that has some good info you don't want to miss. So make sure you tune in.
Oh yeah, dope show, real dope show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gonna do the exit. Gonna give our outro.
Let's plug it.
Let's
Let's
go.
plug the outro.
Let's
All
get
right,
it.
you guys. The pace will pick up. We're gonna come back. More energy. Can't wait to see you guys. Thank you so much for everybody that came in the comments. Can't wait to see you.
Thank y'all again. See you in 2 weeks.